All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. We're talking about the Carolina Panthers in tonight's video because they just drafted Tetairoa McMillan out of the University of Arizona. And this is hopefully going to be the best wide receiver in the draft. And I just think he's 6'4", like 220 pounds. I think he's just perfect for Bryce Young. And yeah, I don't know if you guys have been watching my Panthers videos this summer, but it's not even summer yet, this spring. Bryce Young, man, he gets such a bad rap, and he improved so much, and especially in the last month of the season, he looked really good. He looked the part. And we've heard so much hype this past offseason about, he's always showing up to work, he's got a smile on his face, kind of new outlook on life, just turning into a grown man. And so Carolina's biggest issue last season was their defense, specifically the rush defense. And, they really just kind of tried to get that fixed right away, day one free agency, going after guys like Bobby Brown. So Carolina already had a really good just free agency period thus far. And what it did is it really opened them up for this draft to go heavy offense, right? If Tet is available at pick number 8, let's take Tet. And that's exactly what happened. So last season with Arizona, he had 84 catches, 1,319 yards, and 8 touchdowns. Now, his stats from 2 years ago are even better than that. But look, man, Arizona didn't have a good team. They didn't have a good offense, and that's just the way she goes. He did not have much to work with, and with what he was given, he made the most of it. So this is a true 50-50 guy. Bryce Young seriously is going to love him. So folks, welcome back to the channel. Obviously, we're talking about the Carolina Panthers in tonight's video, but before we do, hit that like button, hit that sub button for daily NFL content and at least one Panthers video every single week. So, like I said, man, Bryce really improved, especially to finish off last game of the season. He was incredible. Maybe that's being a little bit dramatic, but I really do think he's going to be super solid. And you've got, OG veteran, Mr. Reliable Adam Thielen in that wide receiver room. You got X from last season. You got Jalen Coker coming off a great year. You got vets like David Moore. Tet is just hopefully the guy that takes or helps take this Carolina Panthers offense to that next level. So, even with all the dysfunctionality at the start of the season, Carolina finished as the 23rd scoring offense in the NFL. They also had the 18th ranked rushing offense. And when you look at some of these additions they've made in the offseason, first off, Chuba Hubbard, so underrated. People know him mainly because of fantasy football, but I think when you watch him play football, you're like, oh my God, this guy's a beast. Well, they also added Rico Dowdle because it looks like Jonathan Brooks, other injury, just real terrible setback. But Rico Dowdle and Chuba Hubbard help out Bryce Young enormously, help out the Panthers offense enormously. So I'm curious what Carolina's going to do with the rest of the draft because they got a good amount of draft picks and there's a lot of different things they can do. One thing I will just say is I hope they pick a tight end, but going back to Tet, I've got an excerpt here from Steve Munich with ESPN. So the comparison he's gotten a lot is, and we'll do like a more deeper dive video on all these guys once like the NFL draft's officially over on Saturday, but Tet is... Here's what he had to say. The comparison was Michael Thomas, and I really liked that comparison because that would be perfect. That would be perfect. But here's what he has to say. McMillan uses his hands and release package to get off press coverage. He snaps his head around and separates with strength at the top of routes. He doesn't explode out of breaks, but he can sink his hips, plant and change directions on sharp breaking routes. McMillan finds windows and works back the ball against zone looks. He has big hands and a big frame. He makes plays over the middle and wins downfield 50-50 balls with strength and body control. So, Adam Thielen's injury, you could tell made a big difference last season. And then once he came back, you could tell made a big difference last season. But the one thing you want, I know Bryce is going into year 3, so I don't want to like pamper him, right? I don't want to pamper Bryce Young, but I do want him to have a go-to target. Now, obviously Adam Thielen, the vet is or was last season primarily the go-to target, but he's not a big dude, first off, but he's not getting any younger. right? So he led the team in receiving, 48 catches, 615 yards. Once again, missed a chunk of time. But, like just he's 34 years old. He's 6'2", so similar as Tet, but he's only 195 pounds. So Tet's got like 30 pounds on this guy. And just, my overarching point here is I want, and hopefully Tet can, kind of become this, right? I want Bryce to just have a guy he has full trust in, full faith in. And like I said, Adam Thielen's that guy, just a little bit smaller. I want a big target for Bryce Young that he can just continuously trust, throw those deep 50-50 balls. And that's exactly what you got. And that kind of goes hand in hand with why I want a tight end. So you want to make your quarterback's job as easy as possible. And what a lot of people don't know is the Panthers actually have a super solid offensive line because of investments they made in the last couple of years, but specifically one season ago. So running backs, Chuba Hubbard, Rico Dowdle, really just in general are going to help out Bryce Young. But having a tight end, and it's super interesting, and that's why it's almost like a touchy subject, because the two tight ends I like on this roster are Tommy Tremble, who's technically tight end 1, and then JT Sanders, the rookie out of Texas from last season. So it's not this pressing need, but JT had 33 catches for 342 yards, and I just hope they give him an opportunity because you're going back to around the middle part of the season, he had like 5 catches for 50 yards against Atlanta, 6 catches for 60 yards a week after that against Washington, had 4 catches for 90 yards against New Orleans. Finished the season strong, 3 catches, 35 yards, but I want him to get more snaps. I want them to give him tight end 1 control because I just think having, Brock Bowers, you just saw Colston Loveland get drafted to Chicago and they already have Cole Kmet. So that tight end, to me, when you got a young quarterback, is just super, super huge because Jalen Coker is extremely young, Xavier's extremely young, and now Tet's going to be extremely young too. So I'd love them to just continue. They've done a really good job of that this offseason. Just continue to give Bryce Young as many options, make his life as easy as you can. And then defensively, we'll see what they do. Because you look at a couple of new additions penciled in as starters here. Bobby Brown's going to be a day 1 nose tackle starter. Trevon Moehrigg's going to be a day 1 starting safety. But they definitely need another safety. There's a couple of guys, like the first round's going on right now, so I don't want to name drop players in case they get picked up. Like that safety out of South Carolina. I'm a biased Gamecock fan, but they'll definitely take a safety at some point in this draft. So I'm curious, now that you got the wide receiver 1 of the future, and you've already got a couple of studs, young studs on that roster in the wide receiver room, let me know down below, first off, your grade on the Tet draft. All right, give me a grade. I'm going to go ahead and give it an A- because I think it's a really solid pick. And then give me positions, or even if a player comes to mind that you want Carolina to go for on day 2 tomorrow of the draft. So we'll see you soon. Hit that like button, hit that sub button if you haven't already. Wanted to get this rapid reaction video out to you guys. And let me know that down below. We'll see you soon. Peace.